I don't know what his motivation is. Maybe they'll never reveal it.
I know what his motivation is. Uh-huh. Bow chicka bow wow. Bow chicka bow cow. Captain's Pod, Stardate 224422.3. I love it when the numbers do that. Welcome aboard the starship Sinterprise, and thank you for joining us as we take a brief shore leave from the world of CinemaSins to explore the universe of Star Trek. Now, everybody, I need to apologise. Continue the backing music. I, your captain, Ian Whittington, have made an error. A massive mistake. I like to think that you come here as a trustworthy source of information and theories into Star Trek, specifically Star Trek Picard. And with a show so referential to the history of Star Trek, your dependence on...
Okay,
fucking hell. Your dependence on me to be factually accurate and to bring you the little bits of information and context that you need is crucial. And I've let you down. In the last episode, I let you all down very greatly. And I apologise.
You should.
You don't even know what I'm going to say.
No clue.
The FBI agent, and I am genuinely, great, funny opening. I am genuinely pissed that I missed this. I am so annoyed. And thank you to...
The FBI. Oh, the FBI agent that came into the... Okay, who is he? Is he a Q? What is it? Oh, you look so upset.
I'm just making sure I get the credit correct for this.
Did you get a tweet about it?
Of course I got a tweet about it.
Was it on our Captain's Pod account?
Yep.
Oh my God, thank you guys for using our Captain's Pod account.
Uh-huh, thanks guys.
Fun.
So, Steve Jeffrey,
Thanks, Steve.
who I love Steve so much.
He's an ensign, right?
No, I'd say he's Lieutenant. Lieutenant Steve.
Lieutenant, okay.
The FBI agent, and I recognised his...
Just say it.
The reason I'm kicking
Captain,
myself...
just fucking say it.
The reason I'm kicking myself is because I recognise him. He is the same actor that plays a time agent in Voyager. I've lost the ambassador.
I don't know what that means.
So, there is basically time police, and they will step in to protect the Temporal Prime Directive. So, Janeway...
Okay, you just pretended like we're all supposed to know what that means.
Okay, so the Prime Directive means you don't interfere.
You don't interfere. But the
with
temporal...
aliens.
So the time...
There we go.
Oh, okay.
Exactly.
There's a main timeline.
Context clues.
Basically, like...
People don't fuck with the
what
timeline.
we saw on Loki.
It's exactly the time agency. It's exactly the same thing.
Okay.
And so, like, they hate Kirk. They hate Janeway. They're all right with Picard because he doesn't mess with too much as of yet. But so this guy is a lieutenant, and he's like or lieutenant commander or whatever, and he's like first in command of the time ship something.
Pooper Prize.
Temper Prize. I don't know what Prize. You're amazing.
Shimp Pooper Prize.
Yep. Anyway, he is with the time police. It's
so
the
this
same
is a time...
actor.
That makes so much more sense.
Of course it makes fucking sense. Of course it does.
You can't know everything.
But I should have known
this
that.
This is why you need your crew. So your crew showed up and said, Captain, we have some crucial information that'll help you make decisions.
This is very true.
It can't all be on you.
It
can't all be on you.
So Steve came to the ready room and to the bridge and said, Captain, we're making a mistake. You have to trust me. And I did. And we vented the shuttle bay and avoided the Bozeman.
What an episode that was.
So, yes, I apologise.
Well, that's good
I'm gutted that I missed it.
That's good information to think about going into this next episode.
So we don't know. We know it's the same actor. It has to be the same character. It has to be.
Yeah. Okay, question.
So, yes, question.
How many episodes do we have left?
3, 8, 9, and 10.
Okay.
Yeah, I know. And from what I've seen on Twitter... Like, there is a lot of positivity around Picard and seeing all of this and seeing Agnes and the Queen, but the overall feeling is, what the fuck is going on with this season? Like, it is so badly done.
I just realized that my question to you was very reminiscent of the question on a very long car trip. When you're on the road, and you're like,
are we there yet?
How close are we? Because I've been stuck inside this vehicle too long. And when someone says, we're 3 days away, that's too much. But like you put it into, car trip time. It's like 3 hours. We're 3 hours away. You know what? I can make it another 3 hours.
This.
I can do this. I can rally. But yeah.
So that changes everything. So this episode is called Mercy. This changes everything that
That's what we're crying.
Was going to be like,
the
Mercy,
audience.
please.
Mercy,
It's so fitting,
Give
isn't
us
it?
Something.
And the next 2 episodes are just called Please Stop.
No.
So obviously I'm now far more interested in this FBI discussion. Because if this is a time agent saying,
yeah, that makes sense.
Picard, what the fuck are you doing? Don't blame this on Q. We know you're fucking some stuff up. So, obviously that's going to happen.
Okay.
They'll break Picard out.
But here's my question going into that. The time police show up for Picard because he...
Because of Rios, I imagine.
teleported in?
Yeah.
What's it called?
Transported.
Thank you.
Yes.
So transported in...
Broad daylight.
In broad daylight, which is definitely not fucking with the timeline. Necessarily.
It is if you're caught on camera, yeah.
Oh, yeah. But they can just delete that stuff.
And that's it. And maybe this is just a slap on the wrist. And we fixed the things that you've done, including Rios kidnapping a child.
But I feel like, if they don't have more information about the rest of the shenanigans his crew is doing, then there's no reason to go for Picard. You would go for Rios at this point because he's clearly the most damaging.
For sure, yeah. But I think they'll go for the lead. They'll go for the leader and then say, look, this is what we're going to do to fix the problems you're having. On your way, here's something to help you with Q, but we can't face off against Q. So we're going to fix the little sprinklings that you've done here and the car chases. We're going to fix all of that fucking. You
Get
go and
back
deal
to
with
where
Q.
You need to go.
Exactly,
and, And then meanwhile, you've got Seven and Rafi like racing to be like, guys, there's a Borg queen on the loose.
And the time police guy is just like, wait, what? No, we didn't know about that.
Yep, because that one really hasn't revealed too much.
Not too much, but that's what I'm guessing is we're gonna fix. That's the sleeper plot.
Oh my god,
we're gonna fix some things. But I think Picard might say, well, can you not just send us back? And he'll be like, we can't send you back yet because if we send you back, that's not part of your timeline.
If they do send them back, then that would mean that they would send them back to the correct ships. Because one of the things that you and I talked about when we were in line at Disney was that the ship that they're in is the wrong ship. So if they go back in time on this ship, it's the wrong ship.
La Sirena is the wrong La Sirena. Like, it's the one from the alternate future. Right. So, yeah, that ship shouldn't exist as soon as they stop the thing that shouldn't happen.
Right. Which means they're just floating in space.
Well, it also means that they should just be back. This time travel is going to be wonky. It's going to be strange.
Here we go. This is the end. This is when we turn the corner on the road trip and decide, are we going to be looking at beautiful scenery for the next 3 hours or are we going to be in Kansas?
What's wrong with Kansas?
So Kansas is just like the only thing on the horizon is just flat.
Yeah, that's fair.
There's no mountains. There's no trees. There's no prettiness. I mean, like, it's pretty in its own way, but it's really monotonous. Or like a desert, just where it's just variety. Like nothing is on the horizon.
Yeah,
that could be what we're in for, or we might have like really interesting scenery.
I'm praying for a big end, and I'm hoping season 3 kills it.
Me too.
Here we go.
All right, let's go find out.
With that, we will see you guys for a full debrief in 10 Forward after we have watched episode 8 of Star Trek Picard. Computer, beam us to the time prison.
How many is us? You have to be specific with the computer.
Oh shoot, it just beams the entire crew. Sorry, Steve!
You're all computer!
Welcome to 10 Forward, the part of the show where we grab a drink from the replicator and share our immediate thoughts and feelings on the episode we just watched together. Most important question first, it doesn't have to be a beverage. From now on,
it could be anything.
What would you like from the replicator?
Oh man.
Anything.
A creme brulee.
A creme brulee.
That sounds really good right now.
Nice. Has it got like a little crack on the... Are they the ones with like the cracky tops?
Yeah, you have to crack the top.
Oh, you just know that Rios would moan about that, wouldn't he? He'd be like, oh yeah, but it doesn't quite crack as well as a regular one.
It doesn't quite taste like burntness.
Yeah, You need to taste like burnt. It needs to taste bad. Cool. So, this week's episode...
No, you forgot to say what you're going to get out of the replicator.
Like 4 types of cake, so I vomit.
You know, this is the second time that they've vomited from cake.
I know. I
just thought of that.
Can you really just call back the previous season on your own show? No, really?
I don't want to discourage you because you're doing great. But maybe one of the things from the replicator should be like some medication.
Some medication. A computer, give me the cure for the common cold. I need it now.
Some NyQuil.
Yeah. Okay. So I'm gonna have some cake because sugar is great for a cold. Don't you starve a fever? Feed a cold? Feed a cold, starve a fever? Or
sugar
feed
is
a fever,
never
starve
good.
a cold? Never sugar.
Sugar's never good.
I should stop popping these Skittles. So this week we watched episode 8, which was entitled Mercy. In summary, Raffi and Seven are still chasing Agnes, but they find her. She's eating car batteries. Rios is falling deeper in love. The FBI, the traumatized FBI agent is interrogating Guinan and
in
Picard.
Fact, an FBI agent.
Picard Guinan has an expositional chat with Q. Adam Sung has an expositional chat with Agnes. and we're pretty much back to where we started at the end of episode 7.
The end.
Thoughts, Deneé? Thoughts on the episode?
I'm trying to decide if we learned anything truly new this episode. I think that we learned that Q is dying, like kind of confirmed, and that was, an important thing to divulge. So, like his motivation seems to be
to experience something. So here's my big problem.
To redeem himself.
Like
he said something about redemption. Like he's doing something that's redemptive, which in and of itself doesn't seem right.
It seems odd. Like he doesn't. Anyway, we'll pause on that for 1 second. The point you make there is great. Like we think we learned some things. The problem is the stuff that was revealed this episode we'd guessed. So it's hard to work out what is confirmation of the stuff we knew and what was so obvious that they basically told us already.
Right. This was the episode where they're like, just in case this wasn't clear.
Exactly.
This is where we're at in the world
exactly.
right now.
Yeah.
And the big one is likely supposed to be Q's motivation.
Q and why the Europa mission is so crucial. Again, we guessed it because they told us.
Right. So we now know that for sure Renee is supposed to go on this mission and find that biological bit that has life, which somehow does something to Dr. Sung's technology that...
It makes it redundant. So essentially, it looks like she finds a microbe that ends world hunger and cures diseases and allows humanity to evolve into Starfleet.
Is that what they said?
Yeah, that's what Agnes said.
Okay, because
that's one path.
Trying to track all of that. Because it was...
Oh, it happened a lot.
This is one of those where they're like, you know what? We're going to say everything all at once in one episode and kind of not necessarily a fast pace. Because it wasn't necessarily a fast pace, but
but that little bit was.
It was on every kind of storyline that we've got going on. They went ahead and they gave us a big chunky nugget.
Yeah, and I think the supposition is that Sung's work won't be needed because of this revolutionary technology. But if that technology isn't brought back, they lean on him and his research. Agnes
also said something that in some future, he was the father of that way, and there was a statue in his honor.
Yeah.
I guess that was the statue at the beginning that we missed that?
Which, no, I saw it, and it's weird. You know when you have thoughts, and for some reason, they never make it out of your brain into your mouth. Like, every time I saw that statue, I was like, that's Data. But I didn't say it out loud. I couldn't think, well, why is it Data? Like,
but that was such a huge
this is
clue.
A monument to him, yeah.
But it wasn't to Data.
No, to Adam Sung.
It was to Sung.
Yeah, exactly. Or one of his forebears that continues his work.
Because if it's not found, then it turns into the life stuff that he's doing.
Yeah, they have to leave morals and ethics at the door and create superhumans or whatever it is they do. They start to, what I imagine is they can't, there isn't enough resources to sustain the weak. So they get killed and it's eugenics. So only the strongest humans survive, only the smartest, the most able. And then that philosophy carries on into, well, there's only so many resources in the galaxy, so the humans need all the resources.
So the idea is that Q, and this is when the show is going to get really strange for me, because all of the thoughts that we have to try to tie in. So it's like taking all of the loose strings and figuring out if they go into these particular slots.
Yeah.
And if it buttons things up or sews things together in a way that makes sense. So the idea is that Q has gone back and he's trying to get Dr. Sung, because he's messing with so much. I
still don't know what Q's plan is. I still don't, and I feel like I'm being dumb. I feel like I'm missing it.
I'm afraid that none of it's going to matter, and then they're just messing with enough. But they have to have some purpose in his original storyline too. Yeah. In my opinion, it needs to at least try to make sense, even if it gets messed up. So he's giving Dr. Sung the cure for his daughter to encourage him to stay on the path. I'm guessing.
Yeah, to not feel defeated.
So that if that weird future goes in the beginning.
So it's a two-pronged attack.
And to stop Picard from doing... So Q seems to also be trying to stop the Europa mission from happening as part of their trap that he's put them into, because he wants to see how they escape the trap. But then we also have a second player, potentially, that Q either knew as a possibility or didn't know as a possibility, which is Borg Queen, who is also doing the same thing, trying to stop Picard. So now there's two people trying to do kind of a similar thing as stop that storyline from happening. But the question is does Q know that the Borg was going to be in play or not? That's the question. Exactly.
So I think I'm pretty sure Q doesn't know that Borg Queen was going to be a side effect of this, because the Borg don't succeed. Even in the bad timeline, they don't get the jump start on Earth. They don't assimilate Earth in the past.
Or they did, and we just don't know about it because they were stopped somehow. Because right now she's assimilated, she's assimilating this group of people into this sort of strange.
I just feel like you don't stop them though. If Earth in 21st century doesn't stop the Borg. It doesn't happen.
Not unless something really, really insane happens right now. That's always part of that future storyline or timeline, which again we're trying to stop.
Yeah.
So either this happened in both timelines and no one knew about it, and the alternate, like this has always been part of the past. Is this little side mission that no one knows about?
Yeah, it's happened.
And that's the part that I'm always wrestling with at the end of every episode is what am I actually meant to keep track of?
Well, if you go back 40 years before this, Kirk and Spock are running around chasing two whales. Like that's in this timeline. That is happening.
And also this time travel agent who isn't a time travel agent, which is a big bummer.
Goodness, it's going to be an ancestor thing, isn't it?
I guess
he's going to be an ancestor of, and it was the Starship Relativity is the name of the ship. So it's going to be an ancestor for sure, and it was just a nice nod. And his last name is Wells, which H.G. Wells, not Wales, Wells, as in H.G. Wells, who wrote The Time Traveller.
Oh, that's a really
the Time Machine. The Time Machine.
Okay, that's cool.
So it was a bit of a nod.
But in his timeline, he also saw Vulcans, and wouldn't it be neat to know what mission they were on?
I think you can guess what mission they're on. So this is...
Can you? Because I can't.
So this is roughly the 60s, that they would have visited, which is 100 years before they visit Earth. It's like 2064 that they come to Earth, I think, roughly. So this is going to be like a geological survey mission of, let's have a look at this planet. They're close to warp travel and they're going to break into the galaxy. So it would have been research, archaeological research, but they fucked up. And they were seen. Yeah.
Yeah. They despite their very capable ears, they did not hear the child trudging up the leaves.
There is some debate over whether Vulcaneers actually help them to hear. According to Spock, it's a no. According to T'Pol from Enterprise, it's a yes. So we will see. Maybe it's a male-female thing. Who knows?
Or it's like one of those shows, like the cooking shows, where you have a fully capable panel of judges, and one is like, it's oversalted, and one is like, it's undersalted, because everyone has a tongue, but we experience things differently.
Yeah, exactly.
So, okay. So back to kind of like the overall thoughts, that this is just, it is one where you're watching it going, what did I know? Now they're really making theory into fact. Yeah. And the new things for me that I can now like bank on is that Q is dying.
And we predicted that.
The Borg are assimilating. We know that like confidently now. And the Rios is completely driven by his dick.
Completely. 100%. Yep. Which is not interesting to me. Like that.
Oh, they totally
that entire
ruined that
thing,
character.
That thing that I have no interest in what Rios is doing with the nurse now.
You know how sometimes they'll take a character, and usually it's a female, and they'll make it into a love story side plot thing, and they just sort of like, it's like a throwaway person that only exists in the realm of love, like you have a love story. That's what they've done with Rios. Honestly, I'm glad it's not a female, but they're still kind of doing a weird thing with Seven and Rafi. But
well, the nurse is taking the lead very much, which I like. But I'm fine. Like it has nothing to do with the overall story.
Yeah,
it doesn't. It's such a Z plot.
I guess in season 1, he was just this person who was trying to wrestle with him being a captain of a ship and like his own demons, and now his identity is tied to having a girlfriend, like, and he's asking questions like, so tell me about your home life, and I'm like, okay, are they about to try to justify whatever comes next? Like, anyway,
what I loved about Rios in the last season was that he was broken. Like he was dealing with he wasn't dealing with his trauma, he was burying it, and it was forcibly brought to the surface. And now he's just so shallow. Like, there is just no depth to his character at all.
It's just, I guess you can't discount that some people just instantly fall in love.
But I don't need to see that on a TV show. Yeah, I'm sure it happens, but I don't know what that's adding to this story.
I don't know what it's adding to this story either, and I hope it's more than just them doing a love story, because I think they have to hit that note somehow. Do you know, like...
Last season didn't, really.
We're going to hit all of this that we can, sort of a situation. Yeah. I don't know.
I really don't. It just feels like I don't know what to do with Raffi. So, damn it, with Rios.
And I also feel like this episode, they tried to do more with character building with Raffi by showing her manipulation tactics and her admitting it. That was interesting.
It was interesting, but it felt clumsy, didn't it? It was again, Raffi and Seven having a relationship argument for the 8th time. Like, every episode, it's this new little nugget that's just fucking talk faster, get on with it. And it's hitting on a different aspect of either Seven's flaws or Raffi's flaws, and then we get this random flashback of, look at Raffi, she can manipulate people. Plus, we need Elnor in this episode.
I feel like they did this last episode too, where they almost aren't confident enough to give us some information sooner, and then they're really confident to give us information, so it's like a strange mix. Like, they're doing everything in one episode again, thinking that maybe they have to. But what would have been really interesting for me is the episode where he died, to show us this flashback moment between the two of them to understand more.
That makes more sense. Yeah.
And then her hiding it this whole time makes more sense to suddenly come out with it.
Yeah, way more interesting.
It would be, because we would have had that detail ourselves, knowing that she's struggling. But this is like, okay, this is new information on top of just a deeply expositional, because, okay, also we have Dr. Soong and we have not Soji.
Kari.
And we have them kind of coming to terms with their relationship that we also are just now like told to kind of care about.
Yeah. Because we just ignored it last week and the week before. Well, I think I can't remember.
She's trying to figure out who she is, and she was finding pictures.
Yeah.
And she's very, very intelligent, but also not smart enough to realize that she's a test tube, kind of grown. So that struggle is real, but there's so much texture going on with all of these different people, and they're really trying to develop them all at the same time, and to keep track of it all is very it's very tricky, because again, we don't know what we're supposed to be caring for. I think at this point we're supposed to be caring whether we lose Agnes or not, and I want to take us back to the first episode, because if Q is saying, God, we're just skipping to predictions, I guess. If Q is saying, no, I'm processing. If Q is saying,
let me explain.
Replay.
No, that'll take too long. Let me summarize.
Yeah. If he's saying that he's built a trap and the escape is the interesting part, and that he's trying to redeem himself somehow. So the moment at the very beginning when the ship meets the tear in the sky, which was such a great episode.
Yeah, it was so great. It was so good.
And we have who we think Borg Queen Agnes in the future, who obviously didn't take over Earth in the past.
Oh, unless this ship is jumping from the past to the future, who knows?
We have Borg Queen Agnes in that situation. We assume in that situation.
Yeah, we think.
So Q is trying to save them from that moment by sending them to an alternate reality that he helped to create by bringing the Borg Queen into reality. Like, it's just so convoluted. It's so
messy at the minute. I don't know how we're going to get there.
Because what is the redemption story here? Because he, at this point, seems to be the purpose of, like, he's the one that's creating this mess. He seems to be causing it.
So it's like, man, it is like there's these three branches. There's these two plants that he has in front of him. The Europa plant that he's stamping on, and then the Adam Sung plant that he's trying to nurture and grow. And then the Borg Queen stuff just seems completely separate to it, and yet the moment that the Borg Queen, or that explosion happens, is the second that he sends Picard into the parallel universe. So it's so frustrating, because they've given us so much, but if they're waiting for like a massive reveal, it's got to be really good in episode 9 and 10 or whatever.
It really should
for it to make sense to tie all of this together.
And that's the trouble with, at this point, not knowing, is that you hope that the writing has been delicious enough that we have clues that we can look back and go, oh, was there the whole time? But what they're doing now is they're spoon feeding their story. And so I'm like,
just in case you didn't catch up enough.
And what if they do that at the end? They just kind of like, we didn't really do the work to show that this is what we were doing, but we're going to just tell you that this is what we've been doing this whole time. And then we're going to do the final episode is just wrapping up all the stories and putting little bow kisses on them.
Yeah.
Like.
And then cliffhanger for season 3.
Exactly.
And it's frustrating because you've had plenty of time to do that.
Season 3 is not in space.
Oh man, it needs to be good. No, it will be. You've had 10 episodes to do this. Like, my biggest complaint about the show is that it could have done all of this in 6. If you've got the 10, use it to plant the seeds and do all of that business. Yeah. I just can't make that. The redemption thing is really bugging me, because he did say the line was something like, how much can you redeem in one lifetime? Right. So he's wanting, it feels like what Q is saying is that I am waiting at this precipice of death that I hope is like this beautiful thing, but it feels really hollow. Instead, he's just losing his organs one by one, is what it feels like. Yeah. And so he's going to do something, kind of more epic. And so he's going to go to this moment when he knows that Picard sacrifices the whole ship and this Borg Queen takes over from that moment forward. And he's like, you know what, we're going to go back to this point. And we're going to fix it. But he sends them into the future. Picard chooses to go to the past. So maybe it's that totalitarian
he sends them to the
parallel universe in the present. Yeah, it's the present.
It's the present in the parallel universe.
So it's the only thing I can think. No, you're right. It's the present day, but it's a parallel universe where the Borg are completely dead, so they couldn't do that, the takeover. So I wonder if Q is saying, like, look, you have got to choose between, this future, which is all nasty and horrible, or you pick this future where you're great, you're nice people, but you get destroyed by the Borg at this time. Or maybe he's giving him a third path where you change this thing in the past and both things happen. So you don't have the horrible future and you don't have the Borg destroy all of you. And maybe that is all linked to Agnes. Maybe Agnes being the Borg Queen is the big change. And maybe that's what Q has known all along. But it's hard because Q is so confused.
Yeah, and so are we.
I don't know what his plan is. So because he almost seems like he has dementia, like he's like going off on like tangents and doesn't seem really connected with reality. If he then swoops around in episode 10 and says, "Ha, this was my plan all along," it's like, no, you're still unwell. Real. You're still really, really struggling.
I'm on the road trip in a car where I'm pretty sure I'm hearing a flat tire.
Yeah.
But it also just could be the drone of the road.
Yeah.
And so I have concerns, but there's nothing on the dashboard that's blinking emergency, but I'm watching for it because I don't feel safe right now. I'm concerned.
The overall episode, I liked it better because we had some Chewie stuff to get on and some stuff that was confirmed, and we got to see Q. Guinan was great. I love the actor that plays the FBI agent. I think he's great.
Yeah,
he just has a charisma about him that's really fun to watch. But the pacing of this episode was just slow and dreary and segregated. You're in 3 different locations that aren't really intertwining. And in the end of the episode, it's like, oh, we're all back together again. So we are back where we were at episode 7. Really annoyed that the time agent wasn't the time agent.
No, yeah.
Fine.
Yep, whatever. That guy was.
Would have been fun, but I guess it's not. And I guess they're just saying that all of the meddling in the timeline doesn't matter because he's destroying the evidence as well.
Is that what's said?
Yeah, he's not submitted any of the evidence that he's collected.
Oh, yes.
So that he's lost his job and he's getting rid of the evidence and letting them go.
I think that moment, so when we were watching it, Aaron said, this interrogation is going to last the entire episode. And I was like, no.
They won't do that.
And it did. It was an odd choice. It was a choice that was made to elongate what Picard has to do in this episode. It's like they keep having to give these pitfalls for him to fall into so that they can't use him, probably because he can't be in a lot of action and the momentum of the show. And I think they're trying to
be seated a lot.
Yeah, they're trying to get to launch day, and so they're just trying to figure out how can we make another day pass before
it feels like a D&D thing. It's like, I'm going to have to take you to another cabin where there's been a break-in. Stall you for 3 weeks while I can plan what I'm doing for the big bad.
Yeah. And it does feel a bit like that, which it ultimately can be satisfying when you're playing a D&D game and it's a really epic battle, but we have to trust our D&D lore masters. But when there's things that are happening on the screen that are, I don't know, it's not all bad. There's parts of it that are very interesting. It's almost just like it's a bite of food that you can find interest in, but it's just not something that you really want to eat, but you're going to go ahead and finish your plate sort of a thing.
We're going to finish it.
For example, like the CSI kind of moment with Rafi and Seven, where, Seven's trying to kind of access how to think like a Borg queen, and she's going, okay, so she didn't kill him because she's wanting to have, or she wanted a partner, but it was unsatisfactory, so she killed him. And then she's doing this, and it's like, whoa, we're in like CSI Star Trek, right now.
Yeah, it really is.
And part of it's interesting because Seven is having to kind of go into Borg Queen brain a little bit, and that is always interesting to kind of do a little bit more character development. But there's some of the stuff at the same time, that same bite has that forced sort of stuff with Rafi, where she's throwing out the complications of their relationship, and they're working through their relationship trauma, but
they're not working through it. They're just butting heads. There is no constructiveness to that.
And since we didn't see the stuff leading up to it, we're kind of like, okay, so we're just having to take at your word that you guys are, having this, struggle bus moment. And so Rafi is saying things about Seven, and Seven is saying things about Rafi, and that's a distraction to what we really want to see, which is, Seven figure out how to come to her power. I feel like what was lost in that moment is that she's saying, I don't know what part of me is human, what part of me not. Like that, there's a struggle there. But when they're adding the relationship element and the insults flying back and forth,
it's vicious. Like it is really toxic.
You lose the power of what we should be focusing on, which is Seven's kind of revelation that she's human right now.
Mm-hmm.
She doesn't, and even though she doesn't have the Borg objects inside of her, she still can taste it and sense it, and
she has the memories. It seems to be, it seems to be locked into that.
And that's something that's really, really important. So I'm glad that they had that, but that bite was a little bit strange for me. And that seems like it's there for every scene. Like every scene seemed to have, this is interesting, but it's also going on a bit too
We've had it all.
Or something.
It's almost like a one episode memory, like in a series that has an overarching narrative to it, which is and strange.
Completely gone in this episode is any kind of kickback into Picard remembering that he opened the door for his mom from last episode. Like,
forgetting Picard's trauma, that's all gone.
Yeah.
Completely. So we got the answer about the Vulcan in the wood. And I'm trying to there is.
What do you mean we got the answer to it?
As in, we saw like a flash of that in the beginning. Somewhere. Yeah, at the beginning of the show.
Yep.
So we know it's this FBI agent's memory, and that set him on this. But then they wrap it up in such a neat bow of, maybe you were set on that path so that you could let us out today. I was like, if that was your setup, delivery, execution, why did you bother? That's a lot of work to put into to finding a way that Picard can escape being captured by the FBI agent that is going to let him go. So much work done. The only thing I can think is that it is to mop up the timeline. So, the FBI agent took care of the CCTV and us having shenanigans and the police reports.
And honestly, that makes sense because that would be a big thing if we're going to keep this timeline.
Which is the whole point.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So if this continues to be the timeline and we look at this and go, everything that we saw happen actually happened in the history right now.
Then FBI agent cleans it up and we're all good.
All that gunk. It also, I suppose, another forced moment, another strange spoon moment is like Guinan sort of projecting herself to say that humans are stuck in the past, and that's what clicks for Picard to be able to say, you're stuck in the past, what happened in the past, and somehow that gets through to this agent who's been very guarded the entire time because the alien Picard is like, I'll give you information if you give me information. And so Agent
Which he could have just said anyway. Trade. Let's do a trade.
So she has to like astral project and like have a nosebleed, which by the way in the next scene seems to not be bothering her in the least.
Yeah, that's how nosebleeds work.
Oh, so it's like, okay, it's interesting, but what?
I was really excited by that because I was still holding out for the reveal that he was a time agent.
I know.
Stuck in the past, I thought they were going to say is that this agent is stuck in the past, which is would have
been cool. Would have been so cool.
Another layer why that would have been so cool. His boss, his Captain Braxton from the Relativity, the same damn thing happened to him. He gets stuck in 1997 or 98, and the crew of the Voyager have to go back because he fucks up the future.
I guess they could
and they trace it back to that point.
That would have been so great because
such
it
a nice
been
tag
like,
along.
I just got chills thinking about it making sense like that. Yeah. But instead, it just seems like I'm a human. I was born here, and
my great-grandson is going to be a time traveler. Yeah. But it would have been a great parallel because he ends up having to arrest Captain Braxton for the crimes he's going to commit in the future, altering the timeline. So then he takes command of the Relativity. So if something else happens to him that gave him like a time madness, it would have been so cool. But no, goodbye. Nice cameo. See you later.
Nope, I just got fired for not doing my job. One Looney Tunes moment too far.
What a waste of a life. No, because you helped this episode.
And all of the agents that were with you, like how many arrested, they're just gonna be like, yeah, he just arrested a couple more people.
What I did like, and we both looked at each other and laughed when Captain Picard reads Rios's statement.
That was so
that
great.
Was a beautiful little plant of Rios just doesn't care, so he's going to give all of the story, and that just so happens to undo what Picard is saying. Like, it's great that they used that. But again, it was funny, but it didn't go anywhere. It didn't really matter because the entire interrogation doesn't matter. There's no risk or consequence to that.
I do have to say, I did like, and I kind of like briefly mention this, but I do like that they spent some time with Rafi being manipulative, and they kind of like went into that depth of manipulation. One thing I didn't say about that scene that I really enjoyed was I don't think that we see a lot of dark characters in content that we watch, a lot of manipulative people, a lot of personality traits that need to be worked on. But I thought that the way that they presented this was really interesting because they allowed a character to have a villain moment, like to do something that's like, this isn't healthy, and I did this. Yeah. And there doesn't have to be a payout. It's just she's kind of recognizing that she does manipulate. And then they show the manipulation. And I've been manipulated by people who do that, like where they say, they kind of make you feel like you need to make a decision.
Yeah. Well, this isn't you. This isn't the sort of thing you would do.
And so I'm watching it and I'm like, wow, I think that there's something really powerful about giving one of our members this negative trait that she still has active in her tool belt. Because, Rafi has like this very twisted past, right? Where she kind of had a mental break, and she, in season 1, it was kind of like what has caused her to kind of go to her tipping point. And she blames other people for her issues. And so she's kind of a broken character. Well, I think that Rafi is the most complex character that we're watching.
Agreed. No, she totally is.
So for them to give her this kind of like even greater depth of like how she manipulates and her motivation and why it's, why Elnor's death impacts her so greatly. I think that they should be also tying that into her relationship with her son, because we saw that in season 1 when they decided to take that episode and bring in a character for no reason other than the show.
They kind of are, and Elnor is the new son.
And Elnor's the new son. And we talked about that when the season kicked off. Like, it's almost like the surrogate sort of replacement.
Yeah.
And you can kind of get that feeling. And when we watched in season 1, the episode where she has that interaction with her son, where her son's like, I don't want to have anything to do with you. This is the kind of behavior, this manipulation stuff is the kind of behavior that would lead to that. Not just losing yourself in your work and all that, but there's like really like trauma that kid experienced to be like, I don't want anything to do with you.
Course.
Thanks for coming all the way to see me.
You're not going to see your grandson.
I don't want anything to do with you. Like, that's fucking harsh. Yeah. But there's something like it's really deep. I kind of enjoyed that we saw that part.
And I love that complexity, and I love Rafi. It feels belittling that most of the show has done it through the lens of her and Seven.
Yeah.
And how that's affected her relationship with Seven. And it's like each episode will get another relationship trope. This is the juiciest one. Like, this is really digging into how she manipulates. Like, she manipulates Picard a lot. She's so forceful and bossy. I just wish we dug into that more instead of this little snippet.
But when you have so many things happening all in every episode, there's so many fires burning, there's so much on the stove that's cooking and hopping and it's getting ready to be served that you really can't sink into it. So I feel like on multiple watches, maybe you'd be able to pull out some personality things. They do try to give everybody like a moment. And Picard had a moment in this episode where he got to kind of do the Picard thing and invite this. He gave this human a moment to like make a difference and help to save the world.
Deal with some demons.
Yeah. And so that's a Picard thing. Rios seems to be dealing. I don't know
Ralph
what
isn't doing shit.
I don't know what his motivation is. Maybe they'll never reveal it.
I know what his motivation is. Bam chicka bow wow. Brown chicken brown cow.
And we know what Borg Queen's motivation is. 100%.
Brown chicken brown wow. The red bearded guy.
I'm trying to think of anything else like, before we go to ReSInstance that we would want to talk about.
So I've got one, and again, it's going to land on, I wish we were dealing with this more. There is a really, if this was an episode of TNG, there is a really great episode of Q dealing with mortality and only when he's on death's door. Like, there's two aspects of it. He's on death's door and he's realizing, hey, this is a new experience. Like, the idea of dying is something new, and that's exactly what the Q in Voyager that wanted to commit suicide or kind of euthanasia, that he wanted to experience is like, I'm fed up of being immortal. This is my time to go.
Like,
and now,
Data in the first season.
And like Data in the first season. Exactly. Like this theme of being immortal and how meaningless that can feel. But then also, oh, hey, I have a certain amount of time left. Was my life worth living? What did I do? And can I think, although he wasn't very explicit, can I make up for that in one mortal lifetime? Can I add some value? So I think I just wish we'd explore that a bit more and have some more time with Q, just saying, instead of wrapping it in mystery and enigmas, just this is what I want to do. There's no harm in saying, this is what I want to do and I need your help to do it.
I wonder if you will.
I think that's what we'll eventually get. This will come down to Q wanting to do the right thing for selfish reasons and it getting out of hand is what I'm expecting. Because now he hasn't got the ability to undo the shenanigans he's causing.
Yeah.
But I love that. And it's ground that the next generation has covered, but because Q has been made mortal before and he has to deal with that and what it feels like to eat, to sleep, to feel things and to know your end is near. But I just wish we could get into it a bit more.
The human experience that the audience is interested in exploring. It did remind me of thinking about the human experience. I guess something else that happened in this episode that would be important is that Guinan had a revelation about the human's desire to evolve. That sometimes we'll stay in a pain pattern and work it over until we can move past it because we're interested in evolution of ourself.
Yeah.
And I thought that was a really interesting kind of
I love that.
I loved it too. There was a lot of there were
everything
several,
Guinan said was great.
There were several conversations happening. I'm just like, whoa, I'm really
That's
glad,
powerful.
but it's just like buried. It's buried in salt. But I thought that was really interesting because Guinan still needed that reason to stay with humans.
Yeah,
and
exactly.
This is essentially, I feel like, what the writers are trying to do with
this
now
is her
she
reason.
has her reason.
Yeah, to be a listener and to help people. Because the it's not so much getting stuck in the past, is that we bring the past with us as we grow and as we continue. We don't let things go. We get stuck in loops and we hold on to things that have been difficult
you are ready to let them
until
go.
we think we're just about ready to let go. And Guinan can be a helping hand with that.
And I thought that was really powerful because there's some stuff that about Star Trek and the writing, of course, like Dr. Soong has some really interesting things to say from a villain's perspective. Picard has interesting things to say, but Q is just rich. Q and Guinan are just rich.
Oh, seeing them talk off was great. It was so good. I wanted 15 minutes of it, not the little snippets. And the only frustrating thing to me is that he's talking in riddles and he is clearly unwell and we're not getting the full potential of a coherent Q.
We need to dumb him down to talk on our level. Yeah. One question before also, what happened to Laris last episode? Because we didn't see her this one. Did she say, peace out, I'll see you later? I can't remember.
She said that Renee is going to be okay because of what we did, and then she left.
I think she was kind of like, now she's going to be fine. Thank you for everything that you've done. But I don't remember there being like a
goodbye. No, she's still watching over Renee because that's her job. So regardless, that's still her job. She wouldn't be with the group. Exactly.
Gotcha.
But I don't think we got a proper exit, which is funny.
No.
One on the Data and Kari thing. Soji. Dr. Soong. Wow, that was the name I got right, but focused on the wrong one. Dr. Soong and his daughter. There was, in an episode that's already got loads of themes and relationship stuff going on, you then have this like abuse storyline of you're staying here, you don't have any meaning without me, I define you, and Kari trying to break free of that. But the problem is that happens in 5 minutes.
Oh man,
this isn't like a continuing theme. This is peace out, I'm gone, and it's dealt with. Like, it's an important theme and it's great to dig into it, but we didn't dig into it. It was just words.
And then there's still a question in my mind of like when Q said this like elusive sort of it's all like how did he say it? Hold on, let me find it because I wrote it down. If she wins, we're all trapped in the past is what he said. And so I was like, okay, so there's very few she's on the screen. Let's do some process of elimination. And she escaped. Like in this particular set of people we're watching, the she in this moment is her, and he lets her escape. So he's also interjecting his Q-ness into her life and making moves with her because he didn't just leave her with Dr. Soong. So
who knows where she is now?
Why did he do that? And
because Q leads her to.
He leads her to the information. Well, her curiosity is there, and then he interjected himself into their computer system. So when she put on the VR, she could see him and in the programming. And he puts on the nose like you weren't born of parents, you were born of an experiment.
Yeah.
And I will give you freedom, and then delivers the freedom. And that leads to the breakout of the abusive relationship between Dr. Soong and his experiment, which you're right, was such a powerful scene. Like for her to go outside and say, do you care about me, the person, or do you care about your experiment?
Exactly.
And slowly watching Dr. Soong turn from this like person who's, of course I love you and care about you, into this sort of like maniacal asshole.
Yeah.
Ooh, is he acting his chops off
he's
right
the best.
now?
He's the best actor on screen.
So good.
Yeah.
I'm like,
good.
man, he is super freaking dark.
Mm-hmm.
And this is the person that creates Data, and I love Data.
Oh, and Data's and the Dr. Soong that creates Data is off his rocker as well. And it's amazing that this character that we love came from such a place of darkness. It's so amazing.
Yeah, it's a really I really enjoy what's happening, even though he's very villainous. I'm enjoying what's happening.
Yeah, for sure. Okay, one last thing I'll mention is that there was some beautiful bits of the score from First Contact at the beginning of the episode, which is a movie all about the Borg, and it gave me chills. I loved it. So we'll end on a positive.
Yeah, it's not all bad. It's just a lot. It's a lot.
It's a lot.
Yeah, it's trying to do... I'm going to talk about food because I'm really hungry.
Mm-hmm.
It's sitting down at a really complex, high-quality, dense meal and trying to pick apart all of the different flavors and all the different ways that were cooked and all the different ingredients and everything. And we're gonna miss some stuff. And also it's interesting because in the future we might look back and be like, that was a good meal. But right now we're like, I'm confused about what I'm eating.
What is in my mouth? Is this a gas or is this a water? What is this course?
But again, Captain, I'm hungry.
I know. Let's wrap this up and get some food. To the replicator. Wait, no.
No, yeah.
No, stop it.
No, okay.
Get cake. Okay, with that, it's time to head to engineering for ReSInstance's Futile battle stations, everyone.
Warning. Warp core collapse in 10 seconds.
This is the part of the show where we re-engage our sin brains, remind ourselves that no TV show is without sin, even our beloved Star Trek. I don't have loads for this week because it was a fairly bland episode. You first.
Oh, okay. Yeah, so Not Soji leaves without her shoes. That was a curious decision. I understand.
She's enjoying feeling the grass beneath her toes.
And then she runs for her life, but she's like, I guess I just don't need shoes.
Yeah, she wouldn't know any better.
Take your shoes off after you get away from the villain.
That's fair.
Like, I understand taking her shoes off for a fight because you have better traction sometimes than in flip-flops, so I get that. But it went from like, I'm going to feel the grass under my feet to... And then she's just like, you know what? I'm out. Peace. I'm out. And
I hope the next time we see her, she's limping. Just like, I regret all of my decisions. This was such a bad move.
It really, really bugged me.
I think the Vulcan thing was so avoidable. Like, they have scanners. If you're doing research like that, you don't rely on a mind meld that ultimately didn't work. Like, so many things have to fail in order for this kid to end up knowing that Vulcans exist. Like, the ship that knew to beam them up didn't detect the child. The scanners around them didn't scan for life forms, apparently. Vulcans are... Humans, I can see fucking up. Klingons, of course. Vulcans are fucking intelligent. Like, they should not have fucked this up.
Yeah. But it was really cool to see them.
Cool.
I liked it.
It was nice.
But really cinny. Really cinny.
Really anticlimactic.
So in the Not Soji layer...
Yes.
She's looking something over, and in the background is like bookshelves and stuff. And on the bottom shelf is this lamp that's on, and I would sin it because it was so frustrating and distracting for me. Why would you walk over to a bottom shelf, turn it on so that, and it's like a Pixar like lamp, where it's sort of
it'll illuminate nothing,
very directionally, and it's like it illuminates something. I don't know what it was because I didn't pause it to investigate. But it wasn't a book. And it wasn't anything purposeful. It was just to have a light on. And it looks great, but we sin lamps. And so...
Always.
I would sin lamp right there.
There are so many lamps.
And also just sin her dumbness for not figuring out that she wasn't...
It takes her a while to get there. Soji's just not... I don't know why she's in this show. Like, she's not doing enough. She's not doing anything for me.
I think it would be neat to show her in some capacity because... of why Dr. Soong would, or why Data would have her implanted in the memory.
Yeah,
I think that's an interesting thing because that means that Dr. Soong at some point in time wants to pay homage to her. By implanting him her image. But there might be more for her to do yet in the last 2 episodes.
I think even if she's in all of 9 and 10, she hasn't been used enough to warrant. I don't know.
She might. You're sick. Like, you're sick, Captain.
I'm not thinking straight.
Do you want me to take over, Captain?
I think you already are.
Oh.
You can have my pips.
Oh, whoa.
She now has
Pip-a-loo.
4 of my pips.
Pip, pip, pip.
No pips, no orders.
Okay. What?
Oh, that's something that the crew says to Picard when he tries to do something off the books. And I'm like, is that an order, Captain? And he says, yes. You're not wearing your uniform. You haven't got your pips on. And he's like, fuck, you've got me. And they go on the mission.
Picard said fuck?
No, he didn't. He went married. Mad.
All right. Well, I'm ordering you to pull your shit together, sir.
Yes, ma'am. Let me talk this through. How did Q know that Kari was going to use the VR headset
I don't
to then
know.
implant himself into the? It seems risky.
He did say, I knew you would be curious, or I knew that you would look into this, or something.
How?
Well, you said he's omnipotent.
Yeah, okay, fine. I just think there's easier ways to do it than that. And also, did the delivery get timed with when she turns the headset off? The fuck did that happen?
Similar to how he was talking to Dr. Sung and then it appeared on the screen, the computer screen. Yeah, it's
how much can he do without his powers? Because he had to walk to Guinan after being summoned, which I just think that's so hilarious. I imagine that Q had a beeper that just went, the Elorians need you, and he's like, fuck, it's a half an hour walk. Okay, here we go. He has to walk. I have to do the summoning. You would think if it was magic, that would summon him. It's not that he has to snap his fingers and go.
But he usually could.
But he could. But he just you woke me out of bed for this.
Yeah, that was.
But yeah, I don't know how that VR thing. How he managed to set that up without his Q powers.
I would sin a lot of the interrogation stuff, I'm sure. But one of the things that stood out to me is that as soon as the interrogator leaves, the two people just start talking openly about their future plans and stopping aliens and stuff. I mean, they confidently talk about their plan as soon as the agent walks away. And of course he would be recording. They said that the video is turned off, but that doesn't mean there's no audio.
No. One big convenient thing is let's retroactively design some Borg technology to fit with cell phones. So the lithium-ion battery thing and that being the stabilizing metal, I guess that makes sense, fine. But that is so convenient. It's just one of those, let's retcon this to make sense.
I would want to sin so much at this point, but I don't know how much makes sense. Agnes is eating metal?
She still has biological bits.
She's still human.
All I can imagine is that the bits of the bits of the Queen nanoprobes are assimilating that stuff before it does damage to the biological bits of Agnes.
And is the idea that she needs to have enough metal in her to assimilate others?
Yeah, so she has enough to be assimilating Agnes, but not enough to put into other people.
Okay. So she needs to have very
resources to do
battery.
She needs very specific resources to do it.
Okay. And then she goes to Dr. Sung because he has access to more batteries.
Access to more batteries, more technology, the best technology that could possibly exist.
Oh my land.
And access to an army of some sort to get to La Serena. Yeah.
Which means we're gonna have a big battle here coming up.
Yeah, of course.
So
do you have any more things? Because that's all predictions.
Yeah,
Let's do it. Keep going.
Here we have Rafi and Seven, who are trained and highly capable women. And Agnes takes them out and struts away, and they just lie there and then have a conversation.
Chase her.
They don't chase after her or try to keep up with her or keep eyes on her. Oh, none of that. Let me tell you, they're like, we've got to stop the Borg Queen. And then they actually run into her. And sure, she's strong, but they have a gun. They have a gun that just barely got thrown over in the corner. And they hang out. They wait for her to exit stage left, and they're like, "Gosh, that sure was dangerous.
My
Golly
throat
jeepers.
hurts.
My throat hurts.
Wait a minute.
Hey, wait a minute. You're a bad girlfriend. No, you're a bad girlfriend. This is what you guys are gonna spend your time doing.
It just sums it up.
Go after Agnes.
It's so
shoot
hard.
her in the head.
Oh my god, it's so hard to follow that when it is just about them arguing.
I also would sin that shop was just now cleaning up the window pieces from the previous night.
It's taken fucking 12 hours to do that, hasn't it?
I almost sent it last episode, but I certainly would send it this episode because it would kind of made a big deal.
Still going.
Because they were cleaning it up. So I would also send that in the previously on section, Rafi said not to call Agnes the Borg Queen. She's not the Borg Queen.
Yeah.
But then this episode starts off with her explaining to Rios that she's the Borg queen.
No.
So it's
Good
like,
catch.
what happened in the last 12 seconds that suddenly she's just like fully on board
Fuck
with
her.
Agnes being the Borg queen?
Yeah. And the whole, there's still some Agnes inside. It's like, yeah, we know. It's
Yeah, we
fine.
know that, but you should also just shoot her.
That too. It's kind of like it's nice to try and save her, but at the risk of having the whole of Earth assimilated, eesh, you kind of got to pick your battles.
I also still am really upset that the actual Borg queen is not still on the Lost Arena.
I know.
There was that shot of the back room where all the stuff is hanging and like there's no indication. So I don't know if it's like computer
Clean that up.
put it in
The fucking bucket.
put it with Elnor for a hot minute, like,
Yeah.
and you just like pull the little thing out and it's both like
I imagine that's where
it's like a
it's
death
gone.
sandwich in there, you know.
No, they
Elnor
have
and
more than
Borg
one
queen.
Borg, I think.
Oh, okay.
I hope.
But it's frustrating to me.
Yeah.
I would send myself for momentarily thinking that they were going to assimilate the child and the mother.
Oh my goodness, that'd be so dark.
Because I kind of thought that was going to happen since they're on the Borg ship, essentially. I also don't understand this. They said we would know if she was able to assimilate. How?
Oh, because it would have happened. Because it's exponential.
But it's happening now,
Yeah, and
and they don't know.
I think if
Were they going to get some sort of message?
No, they would know if it was happening. If it was already happening, they would know because it's exponential. So as soon as she assimilates one person, it spreads and spreads and spreads and spreads. But they didn't realize that she has limited resources. So if she was fully Borg queen and assimilating, she would be fine. But I think the people that she's assimilating now, they won't be able to assimilate someone else.
Because
yet,
they have limited sources.
Because they have so limited resources, and that's why she's got to break into NASA, I think. I don't know. It seems like the Queen now knows how to fuck with the future as well, which I know she's time sensitive, but it seems like it's not just about assimilating Earth, it's also about stopping the Europa mission. Somehow. Anything else, Ambassador?
I mean, we obviously would skin the whole scene about like between Rios and his girlfriend that isn't his girlfriend. When they start talking about the 10 years into the future, I want to have an affair. Tell me something to keep me.
TV show has time
we
for
would
this.
just like, skip. Like, please.
That.
Now, the kid skips for us with the cake reference. But that dramatic music when they kiss, I would sin that so hard. Like, stop telling me how to feel.
Yeah, exactly. Stop getting me invested in a love story. Conveniently, transporters don't work anymore now. They're all offline.
They're locked out by the Borg Queen.
Mm-hmm. So we can't use those as the MacGuffin.
Yeah, I think that's all I have.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. It's tricky with these ones where there's not a lot to sin. There's little bits to sin.
That was a lot.
No, there was a lot. That's fine.
That was a decent amount.
Okay.
Oh, you want me to go back with a more critical eye? Okay,
No.
let's watch it again.
Let's watch it again. Nope. Okay, with that, let's head to our final stop, which is the captain's ready room.
And that means it's my room. Welcome to my ready room.
Oh,
because
heck yeah, it
I'm
is.
wearing the pips.
Do
This
it.
is the part of the episode where we make predictions and talk about our Q-like glory and find out if something that we predicted has come true.
Yay!
Did I do
nice.
it from
You
memory?
nailed it. Yeah, you did.
I mean, of course I did. I'm captain.
Yep.
I think you had a lot of predictions come true in this
Oh,
one.
heck yeah, I did. So yeah, confirmed that Q is dying. Now Guinan said something interesting about there being an emptiness when the summoning was failing. Now, there is no reason that this ritual should summon John Delancey's Q. It could summon any Q. So I hope that darkness and that emptiness was a nod to a lot of the Q are dying and not just him. I'm hoping that prediction is still gonna whiz out somewhere.
Yeah.
That would be interesting.
Yeah, that would be very, very interesting.
I predict that Adam Sung is now the reason that Q is getting Kari to run away is so that he focuses on the technology, the more evil technology that's going to send humanity on its path. So maybe he would have focused on making more people like Kari Soji and furthering that,
Right.
but instead he's now focusing on the evil stuff because he's given up on creating life. He now just wants to do other evil things instead.
Or maybe seeing the Borg assimilated as part of what creates data, like part of what turns them more machine.
Yeah, exactly. Oh, this is interesting. This is machine and people. This is fun. So maybe after all, Q does know about the Borg Queen. I don't know. He must do. Yeah, I predicted Time Agent is another ancestor situation. Pretty much covered that. in mid-episode, I did predict that the agent was stuck in the past, but sadly, no, that didn't happen.
I went there too, and that wasn't what. That's not what it was.
Anything else? I mean, next episode is clearly going to be attack on La Serena with mini Borgs. Hey, my prediction was true. We have some Borgs.
We finally had some assimilation.
Get some Borgs.
I think that maybe not Soji will have something to do.
Oh, she has to come back, doesn't she?
Somehow. But I'm not sure if it will be like a sacrifice for him. Like maybe she'll sacrifice for her dad, even though she have to, and that will be part of what makes her a symbol of, like, a lovely symbol, so that he keeps her as a fond memory rather than something dark. Because, you know, he obviously had a love of her in some way for him to kind of put. Well,
as an achievement,
image.
Perhaps.
Yeah, perhaps. What do you think is going to happen with the Rios girlfriends? I mean, I know it's easy to say I don't care.
Yeah, no,
but
I know.
There's a child involved, and I think that's a really strange decision for them to do.
I have a funny feeling he's going to stay in the past with her and do the clinic stuff and make a difference in the past.
So, and one of your predictions is that Seven will stay in the past as well.
Yeah, I'm less convinced by that because they've let that trail go cold. So I think that's more about Seven dealing with her humanity than it is about being happy in this timeline.
Like, she hasn't, the writers haven't given her an anchor into this timeline.
No, other than, hey, I like being human. They really have with Rios. So I predict that he's staying behind.
Yeah. Okay.
I mean, assuming that the timeline just isn't snapped and reset and they're all back on the Stargazer, which could happen.
And none of what we've talked about matters.
Yeah, huh? How does that feel for the last 8 weeks?
It feels like a regret decision. It feels
this is why
like
time travel's wonky.
If it wasn't for this show, it feels like if they do that, I wouldn't be in for season 3. But of course, I'm going to. You know, there's only so much being fucked with I enjoy on the show. Oh,
correct. Yes. Yeah.
Do you think we're going to see Renee and Laris again?
Yeah, I think so too. Because the launch is going to happen next week or the week after or something.
I think there's a few days.
No, it's tomorrow. Yeah, it's the next day.
Like the next day.
Yeah. So it will happen in the next episode or the episode afterwards. So we'll see that happen, and I predict that the launch will go ahead. Maybe not Soji takes the place of Renee.
Which one's Renee again?
Renee Picard.
Oh, okay.
The lady, yeah.
I lost it for a second.
Yeah, you zoned out.
Ooh, so many people to keep track of. Yeah, I don't have a lot of predictions.
No.
Same as always for me. I make them in the episode themselves, but I don't know how it relates to the end. This one's really tricky because
time travel and Q.
Because of Q. Q makes it really hard for me to make predictions.
We just don't know what his overall plan.
I kind of want to talk about it during the show as I process more than this is what I think will happen.
Yeah. No, that's fair. That's all the predictions I have, to be honest.
All right, well, then you're welcome to leave. I've got a couple things I want to do, paperwork I want to file here in the office, before... Got some reports.
In my office.
I got the pips on.
Oh, I guess.
You gave them to me.
I guess I'll be in the bar where we usually find the ambassador then.
You're excused.
This is your problem. You just manipulate things. Storm off. Then the doors don't open and I bump into them and it's awkward.
This is your problem.
Yeah. Beam me out.
I took your comm badge too.
Shit. I just punched myself in the chest. Well, this is just amazing.
Okay, here. Let me give it back to you because I don't know how to end the show. Here you go.
Okay, good. Thanks for listening, everyone. It's pay attention to the temporal prime directive from me.
And it's real as an illusion.
How fitting. And as always, live long and Podsper.
Thanks for listening. Want to connect with the show? Our hailing frequencies are always open through CaptainsPod@CinemaSins.com. Like, comment, and subscribe on your podcast player of choice, and be sure to visit CinemaSins.com.
Why is the microphone like this?
Like what?
It's all...
Well, you can move it. They're adjustable.
I can't.
Why?
I'm not supposed to touch anything.
I do.
But you're the captain.
Yeah, but you're ambassador in charge of microphones.
No, but I'm now a mature ambassador.
Mature ambassador?
Yeah.
I don't like that.
A metastator.
A metastasizing?
I'm an ambassador.
Ambassador? Is that an overture with an ambassador?
Oh, I like it. Yeah,
overture,
yeah.
nice.
Very musical.
That's amazing. Mm-hmm. I cheated on Star Trek this week.
What do you mean?
Because
how do you cheat on Star Trek?
Because I went to see a Star Wars exhibit at Disney. Went to Galaxy's Edge, didn't we?
Being a Star Trek fan doesn't mean that you can't be a Star Wars fan.
Oh, Deneé.
What?
How little you know. No, that is very true. That is very true. But I did feel I was so excited, and All I was thinking is, I wish this was the Enterprise. Like, I was thinking about you the whole time.
I'm sorry, Star Trek. I was thinking of you while I was fucking another show.
The Falcon meant nothing to me. But yes, you can be both. And I very much enjoyed it. It was good fun. Good. I got to fly the Falcon.
Yeah, you did.
Yeah, I did.
You went on the Parsec run.
The Smuggler's Run.
Oh, okay, that's the one.
Parsec Run. I love it so much. You got the right thing. That's probably how George Lucas would have written it. Welcome to the Parsec Run. You can get it done in 4.5 minutes. Wait, what?
The rides are about 4.5 minutes, and the lines are like
7
3
years
hours.
long.
Yeah.
Yeah, the Avatar one, I'm still debating whether it was worth the investment of my time.
The ride is so amazing.
It's incredible.
For Flights of Passage, but the wait is insane.
Tedious. It's so long.
It didn't help that I was in horrible condition.
You were not well.
Like if I was not about to get really, really sick, I mean, I was already really sick, but I feel like if I was in better shape, it would have been an easier thing. Because when you're in line with somebody who's miserable, it just kind of ruins the line experience.
It just dampened the mood. Like all of the kids around us were like, oh, this sucks.
Yeah.
Just feeding off of Deneé's flu energy. It is the closest I've ever seen to a holodeck. Like it is, if you were stood on a treadmill instead of a bike, it is a holodeck. It is so immersive, and like the bike moves and you lean forward, but it feels like you are falling, and you get that like stomach lifts up in your stomach thing, even though you've only moved like half a foot. It's very, very clever how they trick the body into thinking it's flying. It's really fun.
Yeah, it's one of those rides that, even though at this point Avatar is a long lost memory, you understand why they have an entire part of the park dedicated, to it. Because Pandora was like a big, huge deal.
Yeah.
And they made an entire wing of their park dedicated to this movie, and then there's just been nothing.
He stopped making the movie.
There's been nothing.
That movie has been delayed. It was going to come out in like 2012 and then 2015. And I was like, well, let's get Star Wars out of the way. And Cameron just like has been waiting for the technology, finishing up other projects, producing things, and it looks like we're finally going to get it. But it's crazy it's interesting
to me that so when you have that kind of real estate at Disney, you know that they keep it for really important.
Man, can you imagine if they just didn't? If there was never another film?
Can you imagine? But the ride is almost worth it somehow.
Totally. Somehow. And I wonder if like the interest in Avatar has been maintained because of the theme ride now, the theme park ride, as opposed to the other way around. Like it has given it an elevated status for sure.
So when I went to Disney when I think was 8, which would have been a long time ago.
So long. How long? Exactly.
A while.
Stardate. Many years ago.
Many years ago. They were just developing this technology, this kind of immersive VR sort of technology. And they have this section of Epcot. So, like in the Disney properties, there's the Epcot.
Magic Kingdom, Animal Kingdom, and Hollywood.
And Epcot is divided, people kind of know it for drinking around the world. Like they have like essentially all different areas of the park are dedicated to different parts of the world. And you can kind of go on these like beer tours essentially.
Nice.
But there's also this part where it's all based on like kind of testing out technology and they use the future kind of thing.
Yeah.
And we went in this one time to watch this demonstration, and I was selected as one of 4 participants to try out this new technology that they were working on called virtual reality.
Oh, that's so cool.
So the whole room was filled with people, and then down kind of where you can kind of look down into this sort of almost like, how in the shows you can look down into like a surgical room. It was sort of like that, but all open, open air. And there are these platforms, and you kind of like got on it sort of like a bike, which is the exact thing that we rode. Oh, that's so
cool.
But it was like the rudimentary version of what we rode, right? And they put this VR headset on my head, and then in the cameras the display monitors above my head, the audience could see what I was seeing in the monitors, which at that time was a pretty
that's crazy.
Like dumbed down version of reality. But what they did is they put us into Aladdin's world, because they had built Aladdin using
like the magic carpet. That would be awesome.
Exactly.
There was elements of CGI in Aladdin. Yeah.
Yes, and so they had already kind of built out the CGI. So they took that, and that was the framework for the VR.
Oh, that's awesome.
And I was on the magic carpet. And so when I looked down, I was on the carpet, and I looked down, my hands were Mickey Mouse hands.
Oh, that's so fun.
And they had built a game. And the game was, once I said go, you had to fly through the streets of Agrabah and find the thief.
Fun.
And so they showed you the thief. And then
Street rat.
the 3 or 4 people, I don't remember how many there were, but I was, one of them, started to fly through Agrabah. So guess what I did?
Did you trash it?
I just went straight out over the wall and started flying as I'm like, let's go!
I'm gonna be free.
Player 1, you have left the boundaries. So if you want to find the da-da-da, you better go back to Agrabah. And I'm like,
no.
I'm like on this virtual. I've got this whole. Now, when I say virtual headset, it was a small television with this huge mechanism attached to the top with tubing that went into a massive arm above your head because it wasn't.
So it wasn't free roaming.
It was the beginning of VR. So it was this. What I was inside of was this massive machine, essentially. And yeah, so I was like, I'm okay. I don't mind losing. And so I'm flying out over the desert until I can't go any further.
That's
and I turned
amazing.
around and started to come back. And I could hear the audience kind of chuckling because I'm over there just exploring and just testing the limits of what they had built. But it was really cool because I was at that time one of only a few people who got to test that stuff. So yeah, what we flew on is the advanced version.
The great grandchild of that.
Of what I had done already. Oh, it's so fun. Disney when I was little.
So fun.
Oh my God, we could talk a lot about Disney. The whole underground infrastructure.
Yes.
That none of the trash cans are trash cans that have to be emptied.
Yeah.
It's just a hole that goes into the ground.
Crazy.
And there's an entire world underneath where everybody that runs Disney is actually hanging out. So it's
it's crazy. Well, the cleanest park I've ever been in.
Oh, it's so
spookily clean. It's almost like they're transporting all of the rubbish away as soon as it hits the floor.
I know it's expensive and it's a journey to get there, but I loved the Disney parks because it didn't even feel like it was too packed full of people.
Well, we were
lucky.
lucky.
The lines are long though.
Yeah, we went on a Wednesday, so the park itself wasn't packed, but the lines were still as long as they're ever going to be. It was long.
Yeah.
Wanted to fake some ID and pretend to be somebody important and get to the front of the queue.
Who do I have to pay to avoid this?
Pay. That's the crucial word. I thought you were going to say something else.
Who do you think I am?
The casual sex ambassador. You said it.
I didn't say that I was the casual sex ambassador. I said that the ship you're in charge of.
My ship is the casual sex ship. Nice.
Yeah.
The CSS Enterprise. Sinterprise. Great. Hey, Sin, I guess. Oh, shit. I've done this, haven't I? Oh, no. Well, everybody, you can hear that I have a very sexy voice today because I am under the weather.
Yeah,
I have a Disney flu.
We passed around the Disney flu.
Yeah, Deneé had it bad and was nearly hospitalised.
Yes,
and
that's true.
Yesterday I slept for 18 hours.
Good.
But let's do the show.
That's not something that you want to tell people before the show starts.
Oh, what? Let's do the show?
No, I mean, hey guys, this is good. I'm really not doing well.
Fun.
Let's go.
This is going to be a great episode, I promise. I have, before we start, a Trek or fiction. What did I call this segment?
Trick or trick.
Trek or trick.
Trick or trick.
Trick or trek. So, we're back on Voyager, and Voyager has bumped into a planet and is in orbit, and it looks really weird. It looks really funky. It looks strange.
The planet does?
The planet looks really strange. And
in what way?
It looks swirly. There's no land masses. It just looks very wispy and swirly. And they're like, this is cool. And they go up to it and they're like, things are happening down there. Things are moving strangely. And it's in a time bubble. So time on the planet moves a lot faster than in the rest of the world. And they get stuck in orbit. And they're like, we can't get sucked any lower because then we'll lose hundreds of years and we'll get home, but it'll be irrelevant. It's already going to be a long trip. So eventually the planet starts to develop life. And they see Voyager hanging in the sky and develop their society, religion, and culture around the ship. And there's Voyager action figures and toys, and they make films and TV series based on the hanging ship in the sky and the gods that live on it. Eventually, they decide to send somebody down to the planet. The only person that can go, this is the B plot, the only person that can go is the holographic doctor, because he's the only one that can survive the time jump. So he goes down there, and so we're going to send you down there for 3 seconds. But no, the transporters go wrong, and he's down there for 3 minutes. And he comes back up and he's just like, my God, I thought I'd never see you again. And it's been like 3 years that he's been down there. And it turns out he has a family and kids. And
wait, how does that happen?
Yeah, they have family and kids. And we never actually find out how that happened. But eventually another person from the planet, they develop rockets. So they send a person up to the ship to say, hey, who are you? Are you a god? And they're just like, no, everyone you know is now dead because you're in our timeline and it's different. So they get help to break free and Voyager leaves. And then when the guy goes back, the doctor's like, see if you can find the person with this last name because they'll be my great-great-grandchild. Voyager leaves.
I think I'm just going to say Trek.
Yeah, it is.
I don't feel like I cheated, but I think I saw this episode.
Oh, really? Awesome.
Because parts of it were really familiar, and I kept going, if he says this, I think I've seen it, and you would say something similar, but then I couldn't tell if you were doing the thing that you did last time, which is taking a little bit of this and a little bit of that.
I would make it a lot different. Yeah, enough different. Yeah, it's probably so the episode's called Blink of an Eye. It's one of the best Voyager episodes. So I wouldn't be surprised if you've seen it. It gets played a lot.
But I also thought maybe it was a trick because of the whole like a hologram deck. Has head.
Still don't know how that happened. We assume it's like adoption or something like that. But he has a family. And even the guy's just like, but you're a hologram. How did you manage that? And he's like, it's a long story. I'm like, one that you're not going to share? What?
Oh my God. What if like in the future when Paramount Plus or whomever is developing these shows, who is putting on Picard show? Is it Paramount?
It's Paramount. Okay. Yeah, CBS.
Let's say the CBS is still just making tons and tons of money. And then they're able to produce these shows and it's like its own little Marvel universe. We've got some really cool shit going on. And we get like a Voyager situation and they take that episode and they expound on it and we find out what really happened. Because that's the stuff that makes me like, I get stuck inside of it. Like, how does this work? Yeah. Why are we skipping over all the details here? That's a big one.
That's the stuff they're so happy to one episode memory and just never come back to it. My favourite bit of that episode every time is when the Doctor gets beamed down and he's so excited because he's going on an away mission. And then the transporter just says, nah, I'm not going to work anymore. And that 3 seconds passes so quickly. And you're like, man, 3 seconds was 3 days. And you're counting the seconds in your head of how long he's been down there and working out, man, they may as well just leave him down there because it's been so long.
So I'm having traumatic flashbacks to creating that same situation in my D&D campaign.
Yes.
I decided that I was trying to fold in like a new character into my D&D campaign, and I was also trying to give them time to process stuff. So I wanted them to go into like this time place where they could, not lose a lot of time. They could spend like several sessions plotting and talking and thinking and all this stuff, and it really wouldn't affect like the real timeline.
Yeah.
And so I did this like time dilation thing, and oh my God, it was such a mind fuck.
It's so great.
It was such a mind fuck. And I'm like, what have I done to myself? I made it so complicated. And then of course, when they get into that place, there's stuff going on that they get involved in. So they forget to even come up with a plan for when they get out.
It's so great.
I literally was like, guys, I'm going to do something here. This is a mistake. I know that, but I'm going to do it anyways because it sounds like it's going to be fun. And I'm just going to say, we're just going to make it work a lot. And you're just going to just pretend because I'm not Matt Mercer in front of millions
the math on this is going to be tricky.
Needing to like show my shit. Yeah. I'm at my kitchen table with my good friends and we're here to have fun.
Yeah.
And that's what I like about D&D is when you find a good group of people that they don't
go with it.
To know. The only time it really comes into play is if you've created something where they can't win based on your own mechanics.
Oh, for sure. Yeah.
And then you have to kind of go, I really need to have some rules here because then they can't play by the rules. And if you're like interrupting gameplay, then you have a problem. But
totally.
Anyway, back to Star Trek. Just an entire spoonful of salted condensed soup would be fine.
Amazing. Am I telling that story? We're going to put it in the outtakes?
Okay, we'll put it in the outtakes.
So yesterday I was feeling poorly, and the best time to learn life lessons is when you're sick. So in England, I have since found out that we do have something called condensed soup, but it's very rare, and there's only like one brand that does it, and 99% of our soup is soup. So when my lovely...
meaning that when you have a can that says soup on it, it's just ready to go.
It's an edible soup. Isn't something you should have to clarify. Yes, the thing that's in this can is edible. My lovely host Aaron said, how about you have some chicken noodle soup? So I was like, that's great. So I opened up a tin and I put it in a bowl and I start to microwave it. and I test the temperature. I get a big old spoon because I'm like, I know it's not too hot yet, but I want to taste it. And I just like immediately start coughing and sputtering.
Gagging.
And just like, holy heck, why do you Americans over-season everything? Like, why have you put so much salt in this soup? And he asked me if I'd added water. And I said, why the fuck would I add water to my soup? Why do I want to water this down?
So let me just ask you this. I've thought about this since you told this to me yesterday.
Mm-hmm.
When you open condensed soup, it just kind of globs out.
No, it doesn't. It was fine.
It was
I like a thick soup, yeah.
Okay, but usually when I open a condensed can, it's like you have to scoop it out with a spatula.
Oh no, you could just put it straight in there. It wasn't thick, so maybe it had gone off as well. But it was like it was runny enough. Like the consistency, I was like, this is fine. But it is the most intense taste I have ever had in my life. It was just like an entire spoon of sodium just in my tongue. And like I know exactly which part of my tongue is sensitive to salt now because it's still tasting it. And I was just like, yeah, you need to add water. Sorry, I should have told you that. I was like, what?
You think so?
This is the part of the show where we re-engage our sin brains, remind ourselves that no TV is without sin. No TV every week. It's right in front of me and I'm reading it.
TV show.
Hello, I am the very model of a modern Major General. Can you say something?
I'm a small bowl of noodles.
Can you say something louder?